Welcome to the On Pause podcast. I'm your host, Karen Williams, and today we have with us Miss Domonique Townsend. And Domonique is the founder and CEO of We Optimize Work. Hey, Domonique.
Hey, boo.
Hey, boo. Okay, y'all, I just want to set a disclaimer that this podcast episode may be a little silly, okay? No, it's gonna be fun, okay? It's gonna be a very fun episode, okay? So Domonique is a entrepreneur. I think we started our companies around the same time, 2019. And we have been on this journey together of growing our business, and she has been so instrumental in my just growth, being able to just have somebody to talk to as you go. Like, that is so important to have somebody to talk to as you're going through this journey. Before I get into all that, because honey, this is going to be a very good, deep episode. First, Domonique, I want you to tell us, We Optimize Work. What problem does your company solve?
We Optimize Work. We solve the biggest challenges in employee engagement and how leaders collaborate with their employees. So how they utilize them for their expertise, how they include them in opportunities at work, and how they understand them as a person. So we focus on those biggest challenges that exist in the workplace that relate to those areas.
Okay, awesome. Much needed, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Okay, so I know your story, right? Our audience does not, but quickly take me through. I know you are a industrial engineer by trade.
Yes.
Let me get it right. A Sigma, what is that?
Six Sigma.
Six Sigma Master Black Belt. The girl is extremely smart.
Thank you.
But tell me how you got from corporate America to running this company, We Optimize Work.
Yeah, so when I entered into the workplace, I really wanted to change the world. Like, I wanted to make an impact, solve problems, be utilized for my expertise, but for some reason people could not get past me being black in many settings, being a woman, being a mom, being happy, loud, joyful, and trying to match that with being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur engineer at the time. And so when people could not get past that, I had to go through all of this perception and stereotype of what I could do, what I was capable of in the workplace, all because of what I looked like or appeared to be to them versus who I actually was. I'm all of that, and I'm smart, and I can solve problems. So that challenge in the workplace, I knew that it was something about it that was for me to fix. So I was going through obvious challenges in the workplace that were the same. They were all about how do they utilize me, how do they include me in opportunities. And I knew if I didn't do it for myself that it would never get done. So I started to create like playbooks to help survive in the corporate setting. But also it allowed people to see that, oh, she's different, but she gets the job done. She does what she needs to do. But it still wasn't enough. Like that, without me doing that, I still was heavily underutilized, heavily overlooked for opportunities and not included in things, all because of just not looking like what they were used to. And because of that, I wanted to just make a difference in that. I was like, there's no way that I want someone to feel anxious going into work or question whether or not they should, if they are capable of leading, becoming a leader in the organization, if they are valued, and especially being a mom in the workplace, having to call out or having to leave early, feeling like I had to be more than what, like overcompensate for them to value me at the half level that they were doing. And I was like, I cannot have another person feel this way. How can I solve this problem? So that was the biggest brunt of why I took the leap into entrepreneurship, to make an impact in how people approach work, because I saw that they respected consultants and third-party people that will come in and teach us things that had nothing to do with that was custom to our workplace. And I was like, oh no, they value them more, so I need to become that person, so that way I can be the person that basically tells them what I was trying to tell them when I worked in the workplace.
I love that. So that experience of like being underutilized, undervalued, took you into a place where you started your own business, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about how you took that work experience and created your authentic story to grow you personally and in your business.
Ooh. You know, I call it, and I say this often. When I was in corporate America, I shaped myself to be a certain way to survive and to be included as much as I could. And with that, I lost a lot of who I was and tried to fit into this box. And so when I went into the workplace, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to beg to be valued. I have to show and convince people that this is something worthy. I took that with me into entrepreneurship. And that was a disservice. I was frustrated not getting opportunities because I saw myself begging to be valued. I was still operating as that employee who had to code switch, and that employee who had to beg to be valued. And I learned that I am the CEO of my company. And so to grow, it was me growing my my mindset around what I actually was and not what I potentially could be. Like I was like, I always want to be this CEO of this company. I always want to be this leader of this. And the entire time I was that when I took the leap. Right. But I could not grasp that. And so I used the work experience in, okay, I have to shift how people have to beg to be valued and own my space in it. So to own my space in it, I have to treat myself as the title I was and then remove how it was in begging to be valued and show them, because of this experience, you're missing out. I could have saved companies tens of millions of more dollars in each company that I was at. And because of their limitations and their traditional approach, they missed out on that. I actually would have stayed in the workplace if I was utilized for my expertise and felt included and valued. Not just a facade where they have an event once a quarter and they motivate us to give us a little boost, but like actually intentionally engaged me because they knew I could do it, but it was hard for them to still accept me being different because it inspired other people to be different, all of those things, you know? So it's like, oh, okay, because now other people are going to feel comfortable with themselves. They're not going to play this part that we have developed as a company. So for me, it was just about using that personal experience to say, when you operate this way, this is what happens. I know because I went through that, and I personally could have helped the company save this. There was a time when I presented a proposal that could save $20 million. I'll never forget this. And I said, we could save $20 million if we work on this particular initiative. I know the people in place, we can utilizing the people that are on the plant floor all the way up to the executive level. And the response of the person, he was an interim at the time in the CEO role, and he said, the culture isn't ready for you. Wow. He was like, I know you can do it, but the culture isn't ready for you. And I could just, let you take the lead and do all of these things. But he was so concerned about the culture and so concerned about not shaking the people who've been there for 40, 50 years, who people are scared to suggest something new because it will get shut down. Like all of that was worth more to him than saving the money. And it was more of saving the money, but it was about shifting an approach to work and including the people that I mentioned of including. That's just a culture shock. And it was like, that wasn't worth that for you, So it was just like, this is what happens in the workplace, and I want people to be aware of that. And it used the work experience to shape me, but not to limit me of how I had to act when I was in the workplace, right? Yes. So using that story, but not still operating as if I'm still living that story, was something that I had to shift, and that allowed me to grow in business, that allowed me to grow as a person. It was like, oh my gosh, I am the CEO. And I keep running around, and I remember listening to old tapes and old videos or interactions with people, and I would say, I saw myself being the CEO, but that wasn't part. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am the CEO of my business. Now we might have two different scales of what our size businesses are, but I still lead a company. Yes. So that helped me to shift my mindset about owning the value and say, okay, you are the advocate for yourself. How does you want to be utilized? How does you want to engage with people? And now I'm operating that way, but I'm using my experience to shape how I show them, like, this is what you're missing out on, versus still operating as if that experience is true for me.
I love that. I want to shift a little bit. I know with starting a business, and we started in 2019, it's now 2020, going into 2023, and I know my business has changed a lot in the last 3 years. So when you're thinking about pivoting, because I know before you even leaped, you already had something you were doing, Meltdown Mama.
Yes.
Right? And then you took the leap and you did, We Optimize Work. But then We Optimize Work has changed and morphed, right?
Yes.
So when you're thinking about, I've taken this leap to start a company, and I'm having to now change this company or change what I'm doing or change what I'm offering. How do you deal with like pivoting and then still being able to explain it to your husband, or even just dealing with it with yourself?
Yeah.
Not getting stuck in like, oh, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Something like, how do you deal with like having to pivot in your business after, we quit our jobs?
Pivot. So now I had Meltdown Mama. I had Be Mommy, Engineer to Succeed. Be Mommy was, I was going to paint. And I had all these custom paints
great
that I put.
Painting.
Love. It was now it's an outlet, and it's just now I just draw and like put names on it. And I was going to sell that. Like that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then I had t-shirt designs. I did all like different types of things. Mm-hmm. And then taking but those were still businesses, but they were side hustles. Mm-hmm. Now Meltdown Mama in particular was a very successful business. Mm-hmm. It people saw the success in it. They saw the consistency in the brand, and it was a mission. I started it because I felt like moms could not have a breakdown without the world still asking them, what's the next step? And I was like, why are we assumed to be this role, to take all of this burden and do all of these things? Mm-hmm. And do we are we continuing this story? Like, how can we be real with ourselves so that other people can see that just because I say I can't do this or I'm overwhelmed, mm-hmm. they don't question their capability. So that was a good, fun business, a very good business. And I pivoted. When I took the leap, I went full in on We Optimize Work. And the underlying theme has always been in how work is approached. The platform of who I serve changed. Mm-hmm. It was either a mom CEO, working moms and women, Black working moms. Then I was like, well, all companies. And then I was like, small businesses, big businesses. And all of that shifted. But the pivot, when people acknowledge the success of something I did within that focus, mm-hmm. I tied myself to that. And I didn't realize I was tying myself to that. Oh man, people really enjoyed seeing that. They saw the success in it. So even when I wasn't feeling it, I would try to make it work because people were used to seeing that that platform or that identity that they were used to seeing, and they see the happiness of it. And I felt like the pivots or the delay in certain pivots is the fear of disappointing or the fear of giving myself a chance to figure out the next step when I knew something else was successful.
Right.
And that's the thing that kind of like delayed the pivots, but definitely trying to hold a platform. It's like, am I holding this platform because people are excited about it and I don't want to hurt them if I change my whole focus in it? Mm-hmm. But the ability to make pivots now, it's like, what platform am I serving? Is it in alignment with where I'm seeking this assignment of what I'm getting clearer picture? Mm-hmm. So each pivot, I see it as a clearer picture of where you're trying to go.
Okay. I love that. So when you're pivoting, mm-hmm. and like for myself, I started, my story's like yours. I did everything from selling, Valentine's baskets. I had a clothing line.
Let's talk about it.
I had an in-house boutique, clothing boutique. Like I've done everything. And then finally, mid-tech agency where I did diversity tech recruiting. Mm-hmm. That was very successful.
Yeah.
Right, I'm on magazine covers. I'm in Essence. I'm all over the place, and then I'm like, but am I fulfilled?
Yeah.
Am I happy? Am I in a place where I could see this being something I do for another 3 to 5 years? And so to pivot to something that I wrote in a journal in 2018, it feels a little weird. I'm like, well, how do I explain this? And I'm thankful my husband was like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just like, what's the mental that you go through when you like, oh, I gotta go walk in here and say, I've made a complete change. Like for me, it was a complete change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like the mindset around, being able to do that, make those changes, and then get that support behind you.
Yeah, and when you mentioned of the explain, I think we feel like we need to, but who said that we needed to explain, right?
Okay.
I think it's more of we're trying to articulate ourselves in a way to make other people comfortable with something, but we're compromising when we do that.
Yeah.
If it's something that's being honest and saying, okay, well, and it's also when you feel like you need to explain yourself, that means that you're switching or articulating in a way that doesn't give the other person a chance, or doesn't give your community a chance, or your followers or people who connected with you a chance to have, like, be excited for you. You want to try to protect the disappointment,
right?
And so when you operate that way, it's like, I'm trying to protect something that I don't own. You only own your truth and whatever the fulfillment looks like. If you say tomorrow, like, Domonique, yes, I wanted to do the podcast today. Yes, I wanted, but tomorrow, and then you call me and say, I want to make passions. I'm with you, right? And so, but it's the explanation. If you feel like you need to articulate and make it sound a certain kind of way, then that is compromising.
Yes.
You saying, this is what, I'm being honest with myself. This is what it is. And then the season that you served your season. Look at, you paved the way for a lot of people who are starting these diversity recruiting firms and the approaches and a lot of things. People watch you and they don't say anything.
Right.
And so they are utilizing how your approach was or something about what you did. They're taking that and using that in their businesses. That served the purpose that you sought for it that season. Yeah. And it's like, you were supposed to be the part that put the seed in, that showed the importance of it. Now everyone is talking about it and everyone is doing it like you did it before it was a trend or popular or sought out.
Yeah.
And people, I remember in the beginning days, you limiting how you are even in looking in diverse recruiting. So because of that, you take all the distractions and hurts and all that stuff, but you serve that season because you pushed it to where people can benchmark what you did in that season to say, oh, it's been done before. She got success in it. And then they take and fulfill their part of the assignment, but you serve that part, you know? So when the pivots happen, it means, okay, well, I completed this assignment and tomorrow, oh, I feel like this is what it is. But it's just those closer alignments of what is needed in your ultimate thing. And it's not, and it all has an underlying theme. You're helping people. You showing a side of this that people need to be aware of, and how that looks. You don't own that because it can change, you know, but it's what you see is the best vessel or the channel to serve it in. And
I love that assignment. I love that. Like, and I think that with like our children.
Yes.
Like, I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I always tell them, you don't have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Like, when we were coming up, it was like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
We needed to know what we needed to know. Oh, my God.
And so we put that pressure on you to be like, okay, well, I'm going to be a HR person for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
My grandma, whatever she did it forever. And so now it's more like, I think it's more accepting and more understandable to have pivots and for people to say, okay, well, you know what, I did this for a season, this was my assignment, and now I'm on to the next one. So I think that's more acceptable. It wasn't 10 years ago. Like, you're supposed to get that good job and you're supposed to stay until you retire. So I'm happy that is being embraced, and I always tell my children that, like, you do not have to know what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. What are you gonna what interests you today? What interests you right now?
That's huge.
Let's play around with that and then see, you know, how that goes. So
and your opportunities too, because they were not afforded the opportunities. They where they could have the pivots and switch and all of those things because of the lack of acceptance and the lack of inclusion, the lack of resources, all of those things. And yes, there's still lack of resources today, but it was much harder for our generation before us and the generation before them. Yeah. And what happens is when we take a lot of advice from people who are not given that opportunity, we forget the fact that their perception of having to have this figured out is based off of the experience that they had at the time when they were the ages that we were when we're asking for insight. Now they have all the wisdom that we need, but we still have to take into account for the people who are limiting that, who are demanding you do that. They're coming from a place where they want to protect you, and they're coming off a perception that didn't have the availability for those resources, and they're still learning and being comfortable saying, okay, you can pivot, you can change. But in order to do that, when we talk about pivots and showing our children that we have to do it ourselves, and we have to walk our talk because they see that, and they're like, well, mama told us we could be anything, but clearly she just kept her recruiting firm. And even if you go back next week, I don't care. You ain't tied to other people's thoughts, right? You know me. And so it's If you say you want to do it, if you want to make patches, where are we gonna put the patches at? On the blazer, blue jeans, what you want? Like, you know, but it's like, in order to do that, in order to pass that down and give the opportunities that our generation before us was not afforded, we have to push through that new narrative, you know.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna shift a little bit. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with this one because you were talking about the kids. Talk about like the family dynamic. You have how many children?
4.
You have 4 beautiful children.
Thank you.
Intelligent. Oh my God. Play all kind of instrument. Like businesses already. Like fantastic children. But you have children. You're married. You're running a business. You are traveling, you are speaking, you are doing all these things.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, how are you finding balance in doing everything? Because I know you always talk about like that superwoman, that cake that they want us to wear.
Yeah, I want that superwoman cake.
Like,
and
we used to think, oh, that's a good thing. Oh yeah, I'm superwoman. I can handle
all of this.
I don't want to handle everything. I want some help. So kind of talk to me about like that. Like, what do you do?
So like, in addition, like, I used to be really heavily involved in supporting all things, and I had to be honest with myself is, okay, what's important to me? And then I look at that and say, how am I pouring into those things? Am I being honest with it? So for me, I remove balance and I look more at how work-life focus, work-life integration, work-life quality, work-life success is trademarked. But like, you know,
trademark.
Right, girl. So which was another pit, girl. Hey, that was a whole nother focus I was gonna do. I forgot all about those days.
Work-life
but it's still out. We still got the kits available, but that's another story. But like, I look at like, am I being honest with myself? And I pouring into everyone, it was because it's a good thing. I love that. I love seeing the success of everyone. But what I found was that I was managing that and trying to do all the things on top of that. So it's like, it is enough to raise your children by itself. Right? So it is enough to do all of those things. So give yourself credit in those things, but also be honest with it. And then when, from a husband standpoint, our partner, when my husband said he said I got it, I let him have it. So for traveling, one of the things I used to do was like, okay, it's morning time. Let me check. Okay, did y'all get up? Are y'all on the way to school? No, he said he got it. So then I released that. So that allows me to have the focus in the work part, because from a family standpoint, he said he got it.
But I think as a mother,
it's
so hard.
It's very hard
when you have, children, and you and you're used to being at one.
And that's the thing.
Because if my husband is in the house and I'm in the house, and again, my children are teenagers, they will come to me, call me, text me.
A whole day
Mama,
sitting
what's
there.
this? Or Mama, what's for dinner? Or Mama, what? And your dad is like, could be just sitting next to you on the couch, and they will text me. It's like, and it's become, it feels like, it does feel like an honor, a badge to wear, that my children need me and want me to still like be in their life and support them in this way. But like, how do I separate it they're like, well, Mama, you gonna be gone all day?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad you to be like, I love you, but Mommy needs time to herself. And then your kids are younger. So like, how do you say, I love you, but Mommy needs time? Mommy's
that's
gonna
a
be
whole
out of town for 3 days.
You added a whole nother, I'm talking about like handling the managing them going to school. That's a whole different dynamic. Right. So when it gets, because we have to acknowledge that we never stop being moms. And I think that was my thing, is like, I can focus on this work part, but I still never stop being a mom. It's just within the dynamic of what needs to be taken care of, I allow the help in that. So it is a badge of honor when they come to you. And yes, it could be, some days it's like, now come on, I'm tired. You don't get it. So I start being honest, and it was like, what works for me? Because what I used to think was success wasn't. It's not me being everyday on point, involved in everything. It's like, hey, Mama's tired today.
Yeah.
I need a little second. Or mamas, if they ask me, am I okay? I'm real honest with them. I'm not okay. I need a little time. Or I don't want to be short tempered with you because I'm trying to figure out this business thing, or we're trying to make sure revenue's coming in, and here's this, like I'm very honest with them, even though they're young, or they're 4 to 13. And but like I am very honest with myself, and I'm honest with them. And sometimes they do request things of me, and I do feel guilty if I'm just physically exhausted. I'm like, dang, I could have read that book to Parker. But I was like, but
it's mom guilt.
He doesn't think that of me, and my children don't think that of me, and that's what makes me different. I don't try to do all things every day. I don't try so it's like the quality of the times when I do have those peaks of energy and doing all those things. And if they can't, if I say I fall short, I fell I dropped the ball a lot of times with them. So it's like if they say they need something and I'm trying to do this, I'm like, I really need to do this, but I got to do this. I'm honest with them about it. I know I dropped the ball on the mom hat or all these things, but I don't hold myself to am I being successful, or am I being this mom, this whole title, or trying to hold this thing. Like, what made me follow this road? Do I feel like this road will impact how they grow up, impact what I want them to learn from me? And so a lot of things that I was doing, I was just doing it instead of just sitting down and saying, they value something different. They see if I'm going for this and I'm going for that. So they need me a lot. There are days where I'm like tired and flustered because I feel like it's unfair for moms to have to be the ones. At the end of the day, we take the burden of it. And at the end of the day, we're the ones that are the assumed role. If something happens with the kids, we're the ones that got to drop. We can't do business. We got to go home and we got to take care of the kids, and we gotta go pick them up. If at the end of the day, it's like the mom feels she takes the burden of stuff, and it's because the kids, they want us, and which makes it hard because we're trying to run a business, or we're trying to do all these things. But for me, I just learned to be honest with it, and just be okay. Like, okay, I fell short in work this day on this. Okay, but I took care of my kids. Oh, I did this in work this day, and it's like, but I fell short on this part. But like, it's just kind of those things, and allow myself to feel guilty, and not judge myself in it. But like, why do I feel guilty? Am I doing it because there was something I could have done differently? Then I switch that. Then I switch my approach. I improve in that. But I don't try no way to be perfect, and I'm okay with having moments where I'm like, I can be human and say like, look, y'all gonna have to figure that out. The house burned down. At least I got 10 minutes of sleep. So it's like, I know, but I'm being real. Like, it's like, but then when I'm on it, I'm on it. When I'm in it, like quality as far as the parenting and all of that stuff, I'm super engaged as a parent. But I don't try to be what I thought I needed to be to teach them the lessons that I needed to teach them. So I started putting limits on things and really being honest with them by saying, hey, today is this type of day. I really need to work on this late tonight. I need you to read this book to so-and-so. I need you to help so-and-so with their homework. And so it's just like helping them navigate and working on things, but not feeling like I have to be that person that's doing every single thing, and trusting. Like when my husband says he has it, let him have it. Like, and even like, cause we have supportive husbands, but we own it. We want to be engaged, but it's like, it's just, all right, you can have it. It doesn't take away from my success as a mom. It doesn't take away from my ability to be the person I need to be in business, all of these things. So it's like removing, what are you doing? Like, are you doing it like not compromising yourself, but are you doing it because you feel like that's the role you need to have? Or are you doing it because of, is it trust? Is it all of these things? So it's like, for me, I had to navigate a lot of things, and it was like, well, I don't trust that this will be done right if I don't do it. I don't trust that this will happen. So it's a daily thing. But I do drop the ball, and I don't try to fake, being whatever people perceive it to be because they saw something on social media, know. But it's like, I don't try to hold up to that. Like, if you think I'm a super mom, good for you, but I won't ever tell you I'm one. And I get, we have this, like, you a super mom, yeah, but I'm meaning from a standpoint where you feel like you got to hold a title so other people can, if you tie to it, a title of this, am I doing this in work because of this? Do I want to be the hustle mom that's handling business and raising a family and making it like, like, who are you doing, what are you doing it for? And be very honest with yourself and be very good about that. But that's it's so many layers to that I'm not even addressing on top of that. But yeah, definitely,
Yeah. I have a few more questions. So, I know you are queen of the social media break. And so, I know, right, you building a business and there's so much noise on social media. Everybody is, showing their highlight reel of what they got going on. And I know you will quickly take a break.
Yeah.
But were you always like that? Did you always, because I know, like, another conversation I had about, like, comparison, you will look at the person that kind of started with you and you're like, oh, they're doing this, or oh, this is going on. Like, what have you did to make sure that you stay focused on your mission?
Yeah, from social media, I'm consistent with the things that, from a business standpoint, like I'm on LinkedIn, I'm more consistent in that because the people who buy from me, who help fund the business, or people who want my services, they look at LinkedIn. Now, social media, in its all entirety, is a curated highlight, right? So they're curating what they want you to see, and there's such a story behind it that you don't know about, that people don't know about when they look at social media, that when you look at it and you're saying, oh, well, you're comparing yourself to somebody whose story you don't even know about. It could be a hot mess behind the scenes, and many times, 80% of the times, it is a hot mess behind the scenes, but they're curating this highlight, and they're not transparent in their process. They give you I call it PSA transparency. It's only as a result of something that happened in the world, instead of being transparent all the time. And then you have to look at that and be like, they're not showing the real side of them. Not saying you have to show the real side of you, but oftentimes people don't. They give this surface level transparency, and then they go back into the hustle, and they're struggling behind the scenes personally, or they mentally and emotionally just like going through a lot. But then they're curating this highlight. So when you look at, I say comparison to me is a judgment. You're judging someone. You're judging what their life is like. You're judging what their business is off of a picture. And for me, you have to say, is that enough data to say that what I'm doing is right? The saying what I'm doing is on track, or saying what that works for me. No, a picture can only tell you a picture. And from that, or what they say or what they do to describe the picture, is still only of that. But it's kind of like being real, like, for me, if I go down a comparison track, and it happens, go down the comparison track, I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, this ain't filling my cup. If I am not supporting or learning, then I'm losing sight of what I need to be on social media for.
There you go.
And then if I go down this path, I'm like, is this comparison, support, or learning? Oh, I'm not learning. Am I supporting? And I only do social media. Even now, like the algorithms where I don't even see half the stuff. If I post something, I go on there for 10 minutes and do this. Or I just randomly, like, let me go check to see who commented because I just posted something. But I'm not hovering over it. It's 10 minutes, and if I don't see it, I don't see it. If a person is a friend in real life, I met them before we even connected on social media.
Right.
So that's the only thing that matters. Y'all, people have my number, I have your number, and we have emails. So I look at it like, if I feel like I need to take a break, I don't have to announce it. I just go off and like, oh, I ain't on it. I'm not on social media, or I am on it. But I make sure that I find something that I can learn from outside of social media. I go to YouTube. I guess it's social media. I don't know if you want to consider that, but like I'll go to YouTube and learn something about something in my field, or something I want to be more of, or something. How do you overcome comparison? And just learn. Let me refresh myself, reset myself to do what I'm supposed to do, operate the way I'm supposed to operate. But when I compare, I'm judging a perception of a picture that doesn't reflect a full story behind the scenes. And last year, when I know this for sure, because last year when I lost my vision, I still posted different things. What people don't understand, I was in like a crazy pain when I lost my vision, but I managed to still post stuff because I wanted to keep people updated. It was sickening. I was operating in survival mode because I wanted to still show that I was still doing stuff, but I was hurting. I needed a hug. I needed to rest. I didn't feel comfortable to rest because I was in survival of trying to keep this identity. So this curated highlight, people would not know how much I was going through, but I was like, that's not me. I'm going to be transparent. Hey, I'm struggling through this. I'm going through this. And here, this story. But I noticed that people will say, girl, you are doing it. You lost your vision. I know you was going through pain, and I still see you doing this, this, and this. And what they don't understand is it took seconds to post that. I laid back down for 23 hours. So I'm like, wow, all of the work that was happening in that season came from stuff I did during the summer. And so it's a much of it. And so that right there confirmed that people judge what you are doing and what you ain't doing. That time I didn't do half of what I needed to do from a business standpoint, let alone personal. So that confirmed it as well. But when you compare, that means you're going into a judgment, and we don't need to judge other people, because then we start judging ourselves, and that's just not right for yourself, and we're not purposed to operate that way.
Thank you. Oh, so good. So, in my personal opinion, you are a fantastic speaker.
Thank you.
And pitcher. She pitching for conferences and grants and just all things. So tell me about how you built that confidence to be your authentic. Now, I'm not talking about Domonique from 2019, 2018. I'm talking about Domonique that showed up, I think, around 2021. This authentic, new, I'm going to be myself. Yeah. I'm not sugarcoating. Who don't like it, just don't like it. If you think I'm loud, that's your business. Like, talk to me about, like, how you gain that confidence to be your authentic self on stage and off, like your shiny pants. She loves sequins, shiny pants, like to just show up and be you. I think I might just input that video of you dancing at the conference.
Oh, I got plenty of them videos, girl. But you know what? The confidence comes from how much work it takes to not be me. It's so much work to be like articulate myself a certain way, appear a certain way. It's so much work to do that. You can't keep up with it. I don't care how good you are. It's going to catch up to you, and people going to find out about you. And too many people operate a certain way because they feel they have to play the game or have this facade. But people are starting to see that. People will they will see that, and then you have to like try to fix that, and then you're fixing that with another layer of facade and all this stuff. And for me, it was like the authenticity comes from just being you, and it's so much more comfortable to be authentic, which leads into being more confident. Is because it's much more comfortable for me to be on the stage and say, look, this is what happened, this is this, instead of just articulating in a way that's real high level, make people feel comfortable, because they don't need that. And then when I pitch, and especially when I speak on the stage, I'm speaking to further engage with people many other times. I want them to learn lessons. And if I'm giving it to them from a facade, then they're going to take the facade of a lesson versus the real lesson. And that is not cool. That's false advertisement, and you're not following your calling. You are I call it false prophet, or whatever you want to call it. You're being a false prophet, saying stuff at a thing, and you're not being it yourself, and then speaking things to people's lives and telling them they should do certain things. So when you're pitching, and when I'm saying this is what companies need to do, and I'm sitting here being this straight up version that's not me, like, and it's just like, okay, well then they're gonna think they're getting that, and then I gotta keep up with that in order to be the next person. So I'm very cognizant of it. Like, can I live with that? When I get on the stage, can I live with that? And that helps me a lot. And it's like, if I can't live with it, I gotta go change. I literally changed right before my last pitch last week, and I had shiny pants in my backpack, and I was like, this is doing too much. I need to change. And I was like, no. So I put the shiny pants back in the backpack and had on my black pencil skirt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I did not feel comfortable, and I would have done it, but I was like, that'll be too much. And I was like, no, I actually wanted to wear that. Just be me. It's okay. Like, it ain't doing too much. You're never doing too much when you're just being you. You're only doing too much when you try not to be you. Right. And you're not serving a purpose. You're not, like, when people meet that, they assume that is how they need to be. So if you can't be yourself, then they see this other version of you that's not you, and they're like, well, I'm gonna take this different version of this person because I'm assuming that's how I need to be. So for me, if I'm like myself, I'm like, oh, good, I'm myself.
Right.
And so now somebody can be, at least I can be myself because it's uncomfortable already to get on the stage and speak and risk being criticized or risk being questioned and how you talk or how whatever you talk about. So for me, it's like, that's already uncomfortable in its own. So why add trying to be something I ain't on top of all of that?
I would say that you have been such an inspiration to me for that very reason because, when I'm a very talkative person. So like, doing something like this was always like felt like it was in the cards for me because I've always got in trouble because from kindergarten up, she talks too much. She wants to, play with everybody and da da da. And I can recall one time when I was with a friend at her family's house and they were like, "Look, I would just give you $5 to be quiet." At the time, it was funny.
Man,
at the time it was funny. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got $5. I'm gonna be quiet," but I internalized it as I got older, not even knowing it.
Yeah.
That, I talk too much, or people don't want to hear me talk. Or,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I shrunk to be, that person that kind of fit in those rooms so that I wouldn't, outshine anybody, out-talk, or, all those things. And so when you talk about being me is easier than all the work it takes to be the person that they want you to be.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for that, if nothing else. But it's so much more. Anyway, so I have some questions. I have some cards.
Okay.
And I'm going to shuffle the cards. And while I do that, so what's next for Domonique Townsend?
What's next? I consider myself, I'm in this growth phase of myself. And I want to do some really big things in how people approach work in corporate America. So what's next is I'm working on an initiative that's way bigger than me. But I'm going to start introducing it to the world. But it does involve being a thought leader in collaboration and engagement at work. Okay. So what's next is being more... speaking more, having being on the stage with other thought leaders that are well known and speaking about that. So what's next is being a known thought leader that has experience that is a little different than what people are typically seeing right now and taking advice from. It's like, well, I got experience from this angle and I want to introduce that. So that's what's next for We Optimize Work, is because I'm growing more in myself now as a person overall. So definitely that's what's next.
Before I give you this card, would you choose entrepreneurship again?
If I feel like there's a problem that's not being solved, yes. Okay. Which is
so probably from your experience and this whole journey we've been going through, if you were at the beginning, like again, would you still have chosen entrepreneurship? It really would be if I felt like if I could solve the problem in the space I'm in and not be an entrepreneur, I would do it. Okay. And be treated and feel the way I want to feel and experience life the way I want to experience life, whether in work or life. Then I would do it in the environment that it is. But if it's not there, then I would pursue entrepreneurship. Okay. Because I think with social, it's always such a big thing that this hustle mentality, start your business, you're a boss girl, 6-figure, 7-figure, it's such a thing that people's like, oh, I have to be an entrepreneur so that I can have this lifestyle that's out there.
And people forget that you can create that anywhere. You can actually create that in the workplace. The workplace just doesn't currently offer those things, so you can pave the way if you got an environment that welcomes that, where you can grow. But then outside of work, people invest and people do all of these things, and it is true. Like you see the hustle mentality, you can have unlimited revenue if you did it this way, and it's like, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way.
And everybody's not meant for this.
Yeah, no, it's and that's
not, okay.
Yeah,
like my husband, entrepreneurship ain't for me. But you do it, I'm going to support you in any way I can. It's not meant for everybody.
But see, everyone serves a purpose where they are. Right. And so maybe you're the purpose that's supposed to connect someone. Most of my opportunities with corporations came because someone stayed in their job, in their role, and they're leaders now, and they're watching me. Or they saying, I've been watching you and I was waiting for the right time, and I want to connect you with so-and-so who is over this budget, and we want to bring you in. And it was because they stayed. Right. So you serve a purpose by staying, like taking the leap. You have to say, okay, well, what's right for me? Am I solving the problem or serving the purpose I need to serve in the environment that I'm in? And the only reason why I took the leap into entrepreneurship was because of that. I didn't have the environment that I wanted it. I felt like it was very limiting in what I could do because it didn't afford that. It didn't provide the resources for me to do that. And that's the only reason why I took the leap.
Okay. Well, thank you. Pick a card, any card. What card, girl? No, you read it. What does it say? Read it to yourself first. Make sure you good with the question.
Ooh.
What is this?
So it says, this is good.
Oh, good.
Describe an experience that made you realize you were on the wrong path.
The wrong path. Okay.
Business. I operated my business in a way that felt like I felt guilty of the wins that I did have and the success I had, that I overpoured into everything else outside of the business of what I needed to do, right? So what I realized I was on the wrong path is that I was operating, even in life, I was operating based on past disappointments and past trauma, past hurt. And so with business, I was like, well, that happened to me, so I don't want to do that, so I'm going to stay right here. So I was going down this path of trying to do all the things that I saw other people in my industry was doing. And what I've been wanting to do with this business, which is what I'm doing now, is still different. I still don't see someone who's doing exactly like that, but I wanted to like still do it the other way. And I was like, why? Who told you? Who did that? What happened to you that made you change how you operate your business or made you feel like you need to do this? What made you feel like when you win, people will feel like you didn't deserve it, so you overpoured? Now, I would now naturally pour into other things, don't get me wrong, but I was doing it in a way that at the cost of doing the things that I believed to do for myself. Like I was too scared to, because it was the outshine, it was all of these things. And then even personally, like having boundaries on things, all because, oh, well, you a mom, you need to be pouring into this, you need to be doing this, you need to do all things, superwoman, and then you're known for the things that you're committed to, but you're not known for the things that you didn't commit to. And I wish we gave awards on most person likely to respect their boundaries, most person likely to pour into their own cup. And so, but we're awarded by the things that we do for everyone, but not awarded necessarily for what we do for ourselves, right? And so, and that is something that I realized I was on the wrong path because I operated on that because of past, like, beliefs from other people that were handed to me, and I took it on, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not even operating on a narrative that's this, and I'm operating off of, like in corporate America, past disappointments of what people have said to me or past traumas. It was very traumatic to be in a toxic workplace, right? So, but I put a guard up, even with people, you know, like I put a guard up each time something would hurt me or someone would disappoint. I put a guard up, and I'm just operating this kind of way, but it limited me, and I was going down a very wrong path because I was trying to fit into something that wasn't aligned for me. So removing all of that allowed me to go, oh, I can release that. I can forgive all of those things. And so the more that I forgive and love on myself, the more I see that I'm on the right path business-wise. But it was all because I was operating off of, like, I'm like, okay, I'm going down the wrong path, and it just doesn't even feel right. And it was all because I started with therapy as well, but like learning that it was the old stuff that I was holding on to, you know, that impacted that.
Well, thank you so much, Domonique, for joining us today and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
This was fun.
Oh, good. Well, do you have anything that you want to share? Anything going on that you want to, like?
Ooh, right, yes. So I am leading a new monthly workshop, and it's going to be the same workshop, just hosted once a month, and it's about discovering or developing your success strategy and collaboration and engagement at work. So for people who are leading in business, they lead a team of 2 people or more, even one person, up to 50. it's an approach to work that people should be aware of. And so each month I'm doing that. If you visit my site, weoptimizework.com, you can click on it with whatever the upcoming workshop is. But once a month I'll be doing that. And this allows people to think differently in how they approach work and how they lead teams. And so that's something I look forward to doing more of. We sold out on the strategy workshop.
Yes.
A company bought us out, so I'll be going to their company in a couple of weeks to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely be hosting a monthly workshop to help people just be more comfortable leading the way they want to.
Right. I will say for one that as a solopreneur is what I started at, but having to like grow a team and manage people and keep them motivated, and that was just a whole nother thing that I didn't have that experience in, and just wanted to make sure that everybody was happy and making sure that they got all the things that they needed, and then also knowing how to lead while trying to grow the business, which is two different things, right? Knowing how to delegate, like all of those things I think are extremely important if you have a small business or you're a solopreneur or you're an emerging company or business. It's important. So we'll definitely link that in the show notes so that people can check that out. Okay. She didn't cough. Cut. It's over. Oh my God. It is over. She know I don't like people coughing. Okay, y'all. We are done. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cough. I've been doing that, and I coughed in the hair. So this change of season up in this Tennessee weather streets. Got your girl allergies doing some things up in here. A tree came out the backyard and I ain't been right since, but I need to find it and chop it down.
Domonique knows that I do not play about coughing.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to check the show notes to learn more about connecting with our guests. Also, if you haven't done so already, join our Bold in Business community at boldinbusiness.co.